God heard your prayer. The miracle arrives in 48 hours. Believe me and say amen. Have you ever stopped to think about the power of a prayer? Not that prayer made only with quick and distracted words, but the one that comes from the depths of your soul, like a silent scream of someone who is on the edge. It's amazing how, in these moments, something inside us awakens. It seems that the sky bends down to listen, that the universe conspires in favor, and that the barriers that seemed insurmountable begin to give way. And now you have been promised a divine certainty, straight to your heart. God heard your prayer. No matter what you are facing, no matter how impossible it seems, the miracle is on the way. And it is not something distant. It is not a vague hope for an uncertain future. It is something concrete which will manifest itself in 48 hours. Be honest. When you read that sentence, something inside you pulsed, didn't it? Maybe it was hope, perhaps a whispering doubt. Is it possible? Would God do this for me? And in that moment, I want you to take a deep breath, look up, and say, with all the conviction you can muster, amen, because this is the first step. Believing that what you asked for, what seemed unattainable, is already on the way. The strength of believing. There is something powerful about faith. Believing is not simply a mental exercise, as if it were any desire. It's aligning your heart with a promise. When you believe, something changes. You feel an inexplicable peace in the midst of the storm, a strength that drives you even when everything seems contrary. It was like that with so many people throughout history, and it will be like that with you too. Think about the story of Hannah in the Bible. For years, she prayed for a son. Every tear that flowed from her eyes was a silent prayer. The people around her judged her, mocked her, but Anna didn't give up. She stood before God, opened her heart, and poured out her pain. God heard, and at the right time, the miracle happened. She gave birth to Samuel, one of the greatest prophets in history. And now you are in that same place. Maybe I cried like Anna. Maybe I begged for a change, for an answer. And you know what? Just as he heard Anna, God heard you too. A heaven that does not fail. We often ask ourselves, why does it take so long? Why doesn't God answer right away when I ask? But let me share something with you. God is never late. He sees what you don't see. He understands what you don't understand yet. Perhaps the delay is not because he wants you to suffer, but because the miracle needs to arrive at the exact time, in the right way, to be greater than you imagine. Have you ever heard of stories of people who, at the last minute, were surprised by something extraordinary? That job that seemed impossible, the money that arrived in the account when everything was already lost, the diagnosis that changed overnight. These are the miracles that happen when we trust, even without understanding the full plan. And you are just 48 hours away from your moment. God does not make empty promises. He is faithful to fulfill. Prepare your heart. Now it's your turn. You can choose to believe, open your heart and prepare to receive, or you can let fear and doubt take over. What do you choose? If you choose to believe, start now. Give thanks even before seeing the miracle. Give thanks for the healing, for the job, for the restoration of your family, for the answer that is coming. Because this is the language of faith, calling into existence that which cannot yet be seen. Get up today with the posture of someone who has already won. Start planning your life based on what you asked God for. If it's a job, prepare your resume. If it is healing, live like someone who has already been healed. If it is a restored relationship, begin to act with love and forgiveness. Your attitude in the next 2 days will be a demonstration of faith. And God honors those who believe. Testimonies that inspire. I will share some stories that can strengthen your faith. People like you who were once lost, desperate, but chose to believe. The mother who never gave up. Maria was a single mother, struggling to support her 2 children. One day he lost his job and, along with it, his hope. She prayed, asking God for a way out. 2 nights later, she received an unexpected call. A friend had recommended Maria for a position that hadn't even been announced yet. Today, Maria is not only employed, but has helped other mothers who are going through difficulties. The inexplicable cure. João was diagnosed with a rare disease. The doctors had given up hope, but he hadn't. For nights, he cried out to God, asking for a miracle. 48 hours after his last desperate prayer, the tests showed something inexplicable. He was completely healed. These stories are not coincidences. They are evidence of the power of a God who acts, who listens, and who responds. An invitation to transformation. Now it's your turn to live this story. God is inviting you to trust like never before. The promise is made. The miracle is on the way. But there is something only you can do: believe. And when the 48 hours pass, remember something important. God doesn't just want to perform a miracle in your life. He wants to transform you. Each miracle is an invitation to know Him more closely, to depend on Him and live in a faith that does not waver. So, at this moment, close your eyes, inhale deeply and say with all conviction, Amen, because what God has in store for you is greater than you can imagine. Believe, and by declaring Amen, you open the doors to something extraordinary. An amen of faith has the power to move mountains, to ward off contrary winds, and to transform your soul into fertile ground for the miracle that has already been released. From this moment on, something starts to happen. Maybe you still don't see it with your natural eyes, but in the spiritual world, chains are being broken, doors are being opened, and paths are being straightened. And you who have been in prayer with your heart often afflicted may begin to feel something different. A peace that passes all understanding. The time of expectation. The next 2 days will be a period of anticipation. But I want to remind you of something very important. It's not an anxious expectation, it's a confident expectation. There is a big difference between the two. Anxiety erodes hope, makes time seem longer, and generates doubts. Trust, on the other hand, brings a serene certainty, a relief of someone who knows that the answer is coming. Choose to trust, and as time passes, keep your mind and heart aligned with the promise. Don't allow negative thoughts or words of doubt to steal what God has already declared for you. Tell yourself as many times as necessary, the miracle is on the way. God has heard my prayer. He is faithful to fulfill it. Remember that God's silence is not the absence of action. Often, He is working behind the scenes, setting the perfect stage for the miracle to happen. The little evidences, perhaps even before the 48 hours are up, you will begin to notice small signs. An unexpected message, an idea that pops into your mind, an inexplicable feeling that something has changed. These are harbingers of what is to come. Think of Elijah, who prayed for rain during a devastating drought. He commanded his servant to look up to the sky 7 times. For the first 6, the sky seemed unchanged, without a single cloud. But the 7th time, the servant saw a small cloud, the size of a man's hand, appearing on the horizon. That little cloud was all Elijah needed to know that God had answered. Soon, abundant rain would flood the dry land. Maybe, today, you only see a little cloud. Don't ignore these signs. Each of them is a reminder that the promise is alive, that God is on the move. Testimonies that transform. Your story is being written, and it will be a powerful testimony to inspire others. God often allows us to go through challenges not only to strengthen us, but so that our victory becomes a beacon of hope for those in darkness. Think about how many people around you are waiting for a miracle, but have already given up believing. Your experience, your faith, your transformation will be living proof that the impossible is possible. Remember the woman with the issue of blood, who for 12 years suffered and spent everything she had in search of a cure. When she touched the hem of Jesus' garment, she was instantly healed. Her faith saved her. And what Jesus said to her still resonates with us today. Your faith has saved you. You are about to experience the same. Preparing for the testimony. While you wait, use this time to strengthen your connection with God. Give thanks, declare victory, and prepare to share what He will do. Don't underestimate the impact of a testimony. When you share how God heard your prayer and worked a miracle in your life, other people will have their own hopes renewed. Maybe you think your story is small, that it doesn't have much impact. But remember, no matter the size of the miracle, each testimony carries the power to transform lives. Think about how many times you yourself have been encouraged by other people's stories. How many times have you heard about a healing, a provision, or a reconciliation and felt your faith increase? Now, it will be your turn to plant this seed in someone's life. A renewed heart. When the miracle comes, it will not just be an answer to your prayer. It will be a turning point, a permanent reminder that God is present in your life. He listened to you when no one else seemed to. He saw you when you felt invisible. And He responded not because you deserved it, but because He is good, merciful, and faithful. And you know what's even more incredible? This is just the beginning. The miracle you are about to receive is an open door to a new phase of your life, where you will see the hand of God acting in even greater ways. So, when the 48 hours are complete and you look back, remember to be grateful. Not just for the miracle, but for everything you learned while waiting. For the strengthening of your faith, the renewal of your hope, and the closeness you felt to God. Keep believing. This is a turning point, and when you experience this miracle, you will never be the same. God doesn't just change circumstances. It changes hearts, transforms perspectives, and opens our eyes to see the world in a completely new way. So move forward with confidence. No matter what the world says, no matter what the circumstances look like right now, God has already given the word. The miracle is on the way. And when you feel that peace taking over your heart, that certainty that only faith can bring, say once again, Amen, because what God began, He is faithful to finish. The clock is ticking. There are only 48 hours left until your victory. Believe, over the next 48 hours, something beyond the natural will begin to happen. As time progresses, you will find that anticipation of God's promise not only fuels your faith, but also transforms your perspective. Everything around you seems to take on a new color. What once seemed bleak now has a glimmer of hope, and what previously seemed lost begins to take shape in your mind as something possible, tangible, and within reach of your hands. This is how God works. He renews His vision even before delivering victory. He teaches you to see with the eyes of faith, the importance of guarding the heart. But as time passes, you will also be challenged. Thoughts of doubt may try to invade your mind. Unexpected situations may arise to divert your attention. This happens because, when God is about to act, opposing forces try to prevent you from receiving what was promised. Remember, above all that should be guarded, guard your heart, for from it come the sources of life. Proverbs 4 verse 23. Don't allow negative words, unbelieving people, or even external circumstances to make you give up. Instead, when these challenges come, use them as fuel for your faith. Declare out loud, "The miracle has now been released. Nothing can stop God's plan for my life." Each time you affirm this, your confidence increases and the spiritual strength within you grows. A change of atmosphere. Maybe you're asking yourself, but how will I know the miracle is coming? There is something wonderful about God's action. He not only changes the situation, but also changes the environment around him. Have you ever noticed how, when something good is about to happen, the atmosphere seems different? People begin to act in unexpected ways. Paths that were blocked begin to open up, and even the nature around them seems to agree with the promise. It was like this in the story of Joseph in Egypt. He spent years in prison, forgotten by many. But in a single day, God completely changed his story. From prisoner, he was promoted to governor. The atmosphere around him changed because God had already determined the right time for the miracle. And now, this change of atmosphere is starting to happen in your life. Open your eyes, pay attention. The evidence is there, even if it is still subtle. The miracle starts within you. While God works around you, something even deeper is happening inside you. The miracle that is on the way is not just something external. It is also an internal transformation. Think about the story of Jacob when he wrestled with the angel all night. He not only received the blessing at the end of that fight, he was transformed. His name changed, his identity changed, and he walked away from that encounter a new man. Likewise, God is using this period to shape you. He is strengthening your patience, teaching you to trust fully, and preparing your heart to receive something greater than you imagined. Divine time. You may be wondering, why exactly 48 hours? This is a matter of divine timing, which we cannot always fully understand. But there is something we can say with certainty. When God sets a deadline, it is because he has a specific purpose. The 48 hours are not a test to measure your patience or anxiety. They are a reminder that God works with precision. He knows every detail of your life, knows exactly what you need and when you need it. Think of Lazarus. He had been dead for 4 days when Jesus arrived. For human eyes, it was already too late. But Jesus knew that divine timing was different. He arrived at the right time to perform a miracle that no one expected. These 48 hours are God's perfect time for you. Trust him, the manifestation of the miracle. And then the moment arrives. Sometimes the miracle comes suddenly, like a door that opens all at once. Other times, it starts as a flow, a sequence of events that lead you to the end result. Either way, when he arrives, you'll know. There will be no doubts. You will feel the presence of God like never before. And when you look at the situation that seemed impossible, you will see that it has been transformed. What once seemed like a barrier will now be a testimony of God's faithfulness. Your testimony. When the 48 hours are up, I want to challenge you to do something. Share your story. Don't keep what God has done to yourself. Your testimony will be the spark that rekindles faith in others. Remember that just as you needed to hear words of hope, so do other people. Your experience will be a beacon for those who are still lost, showing that the same God who acted in your life can also act in their lives. The journey continues, and when the miracle arrives, don't think it's the end of your journey with God. In fact, it's just the beginning. He has even bigger plans for you. This miracle is just the first chapter of a story He is writing in your life. Keep trusting. Keep praying, keep declaring God's promises, because He doesn't just perform miracles, He transforms entire lives. So as you wait, as the 48 hours unfold, keep your heart steady. The clock is ticking, and when the moment arrives, you'll see that it was worth every second of waiting. Believe me, the impossible is about to happen. Say amen and get ready to experience the extraordinary. And when the 48 hours are complete and you witness God's promise being fulfilled in your life, remember one thing. You were called to live something extraordinary, not just for yourself, but to impact the world around you. Your miracle will be a powerful testimony, capable of inspiring faith in tired hearts, renewing the hope of those who no longer believe, and showing that God still makes the impossible happen. So, celebrate the victory, share your story, and never forget to thank the one who made it all happen. And before I go, I want to invite you to be part of something even bigger. If you were touched by this message, if it renewed your faith or brought hope to your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Backhand index pointing right, subscribe to the channel to receive more messages like this and strengthen your faith every day. Thumbs up, leave your like so that more people can be reached and impacted. Outbox tray, share this message with the ones you love. It might be exactly what someone needs to hear today. Bell, turn on notifications so you don't miss any content that could transform your life. Together, let's spread God's light, hope, and love to even more people, because the same God who heard your prayer also wants to reach other hearts. Now, say it once again with all the strength of your faith. Amen. May your miracle come true, and may you continue to live under the blessings of the Father. Folded hands sparkles.